This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
Welcome to today's Talk Business and Politics. I'm Roby Brock. I'm joined by John Brummett of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, who's tucking his mask in his pocket there.
Rather than pull it down, it was making my ears come out.
I understand. We are at Tzatziki's on Chenal Parkway, a restaurant owned by Jim Keat and his sons. And we're out on the back deck on the first day that they are actually allowing people to do dine-in in the state of Arkansas. What are your thoughts on what you saw kind of coming through here and talking to Jim before we sat down?
Well, it's a remarkable thing. It's an entirely new business model, and it's a business model that's going to change permanently, as he told us. But for right now, it's a stark look in there. I mean, the tables are far apart, and there are fewer tables. And I started to say to him, I hope you have a good lunch, crowd, but I realized crowd was not possible, and that's not the business plan. And as he explained, what you're trying to do right now is complement your curbside and your delivery that you've done with this phase one, highly restricted indoor dining, and limit how much you bleed. So you can, if health holds, you get to phase two, which you can go to 2/3. Then someday maybe you can go to back to full and continue the outdoor and delivery curbside aspect, which is going to stay with us. But it's a tough time, and he said, and he understands, and he knows the business. People are going to be trepidatious about coming back. That's just going to be part of it.
Yeah, and we were brave enough to sit outside.
We're outside
on the back deck,
and we just now took our masks off.
Exactly, we've had them on the whole time.
Yeah.
So, because you can't eat if you've got a mask on. I find it very difficult to eat and drink with a mask on.
Well, it's hard to, as I put in a column, it's hard to stab your mask with a knife and fork without harming your tongue. So you got to drop it down.
All right, let's talk about what has been going on in the world of politics over the last week. Let's begin first with the fact that the Trump White House has had an outbreak of the coronavirus, COVID-19. I can't say that I'm not surprised. I mean, we had a reluctance to wear masks. We had a reluctance to, socially distance. Is it a surprise to you that the Trump White House is a victim of the pandemic now?
No, it's not a surprise, but it's something, the remarkableness of which we shouldn't understate. The man who's in charge of the White House task force on dealing with this pandemic has now been exposed through his staff in the West Wing, and anybody who's been in the West Wing knows that it's a series of intimate closets. It's a very close place. You can almost walk into the Oval before you know it if you're in the Chief of Staff's office. It's just all right there. So no, it's not surprising, but it's remarkable, and it's troubling, and it accents a point which maybe Jim Keat would rather I not make, but. We're getting some hummus.
I think our food is here. Thank you.
So where was it? Maybe Jim Keat wouldn't want me to say as I sit here in his establishment, but within 10 days ago, maybe a week ago still, we were saying the curve is flattened, cases are down. If you look at the rolling average, we can venture back. I think we're now realizing, and most of the publicity in the national papers Sunday was on this point, we're going back because the economy is in great peril and we can't afford not to, and there's going to be a spike, and it's a war to save our economy, and there will be risk, perhaps casualties, as in a war. I mean, I really think that's sort of what we're saying now. We're no longer saying the numbers that just make a compelling case to venture back. We're saying we got to get back, and we've got to get back responsibly, and that's where we are. And the people who are older and weaker and infirm and at jeopardy, they probably
I'll
will
let
be.
You give his over there since you got gloves on. So.
All right. You got it. There you are.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Tell everybody who that was. That was a Keat.
It's Jim Keat's son,
Yeah.
who is running this establishment here and helping us out today. And we have other guests coming in too,
Right.
so
Right.
it's all kinds of activity
Sure.
here. Does it make you feel a little more normal? Are you feeling a little more normal?
Around people?
Yeah.
No, I've been working alone for 15 years. I was more normal when I was out here by myself.
I gotcha.
No, it does. But notice the distance. If you can't with our camera angles.
No, but we're taking some photos
There
here
are.
that we made later.
There were more tables than this on the deck regularly. There are 3 well-distanced tables.
Yep. Let's talk about another development of the last week, and that is, it's not over the last week, it's over the last few months, but it is something that has risen in prominence, and that is that the Trump administration has chosen not to withdraw its efforts to overturn Obamacare. And we have more food coming. So
Good.
You didn't know how hungry you were, did you?
I told you I was. Well, thanks.
Thank you, folks. If y'all need anything, let me know.
All right.
Can't
thanks.
imagine. Okay. Let me tell you, there's plenty of food at Taziki's on Chenal.
The administration's effort to overturn Obamacare
Right.
at a time when there is a pandemic going on has been viewed by some as something they should stop. But the believers that think that this needs to be overturned don't think that it is. What do you think will eventually come? Do you think that the politics of this moment plays into a Supreme Court decision, or does it stay singularly focused on the law?
Well, I think I'll say both. I think the Affordable Care Act itself was saved in the first place by a 5-4 vote by a conservative-leaning Chief Justice who didn't want his court politically to be the one that would undo health care reform, and I think he conceived of this this basis for saving it, that the tax penalty for not complying with the mandate is a tax and within the power of Congress, and cast the deciding vote. Politics is a part of it, of course. The law is, of course, a big part of it. What has happened is a lot of people, as we know in our country, rely on or get health insurance through their employment. And we've had forced unemployment that has forced a lot of people off those payrolls and off of health insurance. The health insurance industry, your Blue Crosses and people like that, prevailed on the White House and said, Obamacare is there. It's a public exchange. We have all these plans, but there is a restricted sign-up period beginning in October or November. It's late in the year.
Right.
Why don't we open it specially now? Because what people may not realize is that Obamacare, it's much too expensive because we're not participating like we should because there is no individual mandate, but the premiums stabilized this year. They're down 3% nationwide. And beyond that, if you're unemployed and don't have any income, the government will subsidize nearly all of it. So the health insurance industry is saying, give us a special enrollment period and we can cover these people. Trump did not do that. Why? Because of the politics. I mean, his base despises the very concept of Obamacare. Regardless of what it is or whether there's a need for it, he could not oblige his base, so they decided not to do it. What's the Trump administration's solution? It's Medicare for all who get the coronavirus and don't have insurance. That's basically what.
Right. Which is another thing they have completely railed
Which
against,
is conceivably more leftward in its thinking than Obamacare, which runs it through the private sector. But they will now pay the hospital costs of anybody who, without insurance, gets hospital treatment from coronavirus. Meantime, this whole matter is going to the Supreme Court for a hearing in October on whether the whole Obamacare Affordable Care Act is thrown out because of this tax being eliminated, which doesn't. I don't think that's going to prevail.
Senator Lamar Alexander had some comments on that yesterday.
The Trump administration has forbidden the Justice Department from defending its own government law before the Supreme Court, even though Bill Barr kind of thought they ought to, according to reports. Yesterday, in a better performance than in his edited tape, Chuck Todd asked Senator Lamar Alexander, who is not running again, by the way, Republican senator, are you troubled that the Justice Department will not defend this lawsuit? And since he's not running again, and he doesn't have to worry about that base, Lamar Alexander told the truth. Yes, and there wasn't a senator who voted to do away with his tax penalty, who thought they were doing away with pre-existing condition coverage.
I think there was one senator that thought
Tom
that.
Cotton, perhaps. I had the same thought. That there might have been one, and we know him. but there weren't many, and it was not widely believed. So that's where we are. Obamacare would be helpful. Not only helpful, it would be more helpful and a better expenditure of public money to open an enrollment period now and subsidize unemployment people on these plans to pay private premiums than it would be for the government just to open-endedly pay for all the coronavirus costs of any uninsured person going to a hospital, it seems to me. But simple, raw politics, particularly in election year, Trump can't cotton Obamacare in any way. He simply can't, he can't. To say let's use it for this special occasion is to imply some legitimacy, some usefulness to it. And so it can't be done.
All right. We got food that's going to get cold if we don't wrap this up. So let me close with one question
All right,
here. We'll
up.
see if we've done this right, and we'll wash our hands and sanitize and put our face masks on before we leave. You got a haircut?
I did, first
Tell
day.
me about the experience.
Well,
Were you nervous? Was it too close in proximity?
no. I mean, I just, my hairstyle is such that it gets a little bit, I called it the windblown Trump look, if it's not well tended. And it had been 10 weeks because I was due the day they closed for my regular 3-week trim. My barber is a sole proprietor whom I know. I was his second customer of the day. He showed me all the sanitizing and cleaning he was doing and had done and did before and did after. He was masked, I was masked. I slipped on some pink dishwashing gloves and looked real cute. He said he didn't think they were fashionable or all that useful. He was making the point that a virus could hang on those gloves and you could wash your hands. Okay, even so. These are things that we're talking about. But I felt reasonably confident, and I feel a lot better. I lost 5 pounds when I got that haircut, and I could stand to lose it.
I'm Brummett with the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. Let's eat, all right?
Okay.
All right, thanks for tuning in.
Each day, the promise of our nation begins again. Arkansas and America, moving forward. I help make that promise a reality. It's not for everyone, but people everywhere depend on us.
Oh, I love you too, sweetie.
Trucking delivers, or everything stops. And that's what drives me.
I did.
You'll find us at the end of a lot of long country roads, covering over 60% of the great state of Arkansas. Our 17 electric distribution cooperatives are working day and night to provide reliable, affordable power to over 500,000 homes, farms, and businesses, just like yours. The Electric Cooperatives of Arkansas, your local energy partners.